Hi guys, this is Michelle Kaiser, and I am an occupational therapist and I work in early intervention. I wanted to do a presentation for you on routines, and I know that might not sound very exciting to start with, but it really is a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. And I think that's because I recognize the foundation that routines lay down for children and their families as they try to make progress in areas of development or just bond more together as a family. So I'm really excited to share some of this information with you, and hopefully you'll find a few strategies in here that are helpful for you to start to implement some goals you might have around routines. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you real quick and we will get started. Okay. All right, I think it takes it a second to get going here. At least it did the last time. Okay, from the beginning. There we go. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. I'm still getting this technology thing down to a science, hopefully sometime. So routines, they're not just routine. Is that just my opinion, or are routines really all that important? First of all, what are routines? And those are just predictable activities that occur for a family or a person day in and day out. They tend to just repeat. And they can also be routines related to holidays and stuff, which are like traditions. So those are just predictable activities that occur at a fairly consistent manner. What are the benefits of routines for us as adults? And some of these are, the more frequently we do something, we become more efficient at it. We become more proficient at being able to do something accurately. It decreases our need and our time that we need for planning. So when things just kind of happen habitually, we don't have to think about them as much and they just kind of happen rather than requiring a lot of planning. It's really neat how routines can give you a real structure or framework to be able to improve or change habits or eliminate habits. And also, it really helps us prioritize which tasks are the most important to our families each day or to us individually. It decreases procrastination. It saves money if you have routines around paying bills, um, maybe like around grocery shopping and meal planning. It can save money there as well. And as I think we've all experienced, at least most of us during the pandemic, is that when you don't have routines in place, when you lose the routines that you did have, it really increases a lot of stress, which in turn really increases fatigue too. So, those are just some of the bullet points about the benefits for adults. So, why are routines beneficial for children? Um, just a few of these that I wanted to go over with you are first of all, it really helps babies get in a schedule. They really depend on routines to help them learn the differences between nighttime and daytime, sleep time, awake time, and feeding times. So it's only in those consistent, predictable routines that babies and children get into any sort of a rhythm. It helps you bond as a family when you do things together, even if it's laundry or grocery shopping, meal planning, bedtime routines. It also establishes for children expectations around certain activities. So at mealtime, we all sit in our chairs until everyone's done and then we can get up. Or when it's time to get ready in the morning, everyone's expected to grab their own backpack before we head out the door. So it really can create a calmer household when everyone knows what's expected of them, what their role is during each of the routines. It also increases confidence and independence in children when they engage in routines and they learn a lot of skills when they do that. It can set up some really healthy and constructive habits for children, things like brushing your teeth, eating vegetables for a snack, maybe, bedtime routines, those things are all healthy. And also constructive habits that are good. Like after we eat dinner, everyone takes their plates to the kitchen sink, or what's another one I was thinking of? Oh, when we're done playing with a certain activity, everyone helps with cleanup and we clean up one activity before we get out another one. uh, let's see, helping, it helps us as parents remember things that are important if we have a routine. Like, oh, I'm supposed to give that medicine at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that routine helps you remember to do that, for one example. It helps children and families get excited about parts of the day that they enjoy or something new that's going to happen outside of the routine. It gives a framework to that. It provides for really special daily rituals. So things like, at mealtime, each person gets to take a turn, setting the table. Or when mama kisses me goodnight, she kisses my eyes, my nose, my ears, my chin. Just little special things that you do each day with different routines, and you have different ones for each child sometimes. It's funny how when children get older that sometimes those are the things that they remember about their childhood, are those little special daily rituals like that. And a routine gives those an opportunity to happen on a consistent basis. Routines offer stability during change or stressful times. When children go through, stressors, whether that be the birth of a new sibling, if a family's going to move, changes in jobs, changes in childcare, so many things happen that can cause changes, a pandemic. um, but having those routines and that structure in place decreases the stress on adults and children when the whole rest of the world seems like it's unpredictable. They can still count on certain things happening with consistency every day, and that really eliminates a lot of stress and anxiety for kids. So I know we've talked, or you've probably heard a lot about how play is one of the avenues in which children learn, but routines are also a very primary way that children learn new skills too. They learn kind of in three different avenues about routines. One is engagement, how involved they are and how engaged they are, their attention, their focus, their ability to take turns and notice details, to realize what roles different people have in each routine. It gives them skills in independence, from self-dressing, feeding themselves, um, completing routines like brushing their teeth, or how they can help with bathing. And lastly, and probably the most important, is routines give a child social relationship skills, and it helps them develop social emotionally, like how to self-regulate during the day's activities or when things do change. How should they feel about themselves? Are they doing a good job? Are they doing things they shouldn't do? How can they assert their needs to others around them in an appropriate way that they will get responded to? Can they begin to understand other people's perspectives, which happens, a lot of times, as kids get closer to 18 months, even they can begin to understand other people's perspectives. Can they trust people around them? And they also learn a great deal about, what are my family's values? What is the most important to my family? Is it that we spend time together at meal times, a couple times a week, that are really special? Is it that we spend time with our grandparents? Is it that we have quiet time together as a family? Is it that we're active in a sports kind of family? So children learn a great deal about their culture, the family expectations, and all of those things as a part of routines. So where's a place that you can start? One place to start, and I know that the popularity of these, or the awareness of the importance of family meetings kind of changes, and I haven't heard as much about them until recently. And I really have been reflecting about how what a great tool they would be to connect together and to be a place to start a routine. So, how do you start? If you're like, okay, I'm kind of interested in the family meeting thing, how would you begin this? So, one of the first things that you could do when you meet is set aside a time, limit distractions, make sure that everyone is going to be there possibly, or maybe you would decide at the first meeting that you want to just have you and your partner or spouse with you. So you can answer some of these big questions like what is important to us as a family? Just like brainstorm, it'd be interesting and eye-opening, I think, to just share what kinds of things are important to each of you. How do you see ourselves as a family? What principles guide our actions? And many of those are determined by faith a lot of times for families. What do we really like about our family? What do we feel good about? And are there some things that we want to change? And those are some great big questions to ask at your first meeting, and then even now and then just to touch base and refocus. The next thing that from that conversation that would be a good place to go are to establish some house rules. And you really want to keep these as simple as possible, limit them to maybe three or four rules, and have them written, or you can have them as pictures for children who aren't reading yet. You want to make sure that they're visible so everyone can see them. And you want to make sure that they're rules that you also can abide by. So probably not things like everyone needs to be to bed by 8 o'clock. Of course, that probably sounds really good sometimes, but rules like we keep each other safe. So really general rules like that. We keep our things safe. We're respectful to each other. And keep in mind that all of these rules have to be demonstrated by you. You have to do what you say, and they have to be taught to children. So I put this picture in here just because, respecting each other, respecting property, those are oftentimes pretty common house rules. But you might even have a few more, like we only eat at the dining room table, or, some things that are specific to your family too. So once you have established your house rules and you've all agreed on those and you have them written down and posted somewhere, then one of the ways that you can kind of optimize your home, the environment for success, is to consider the space that that's in your home and the time around your day and your week. So some of these for space that are really helpful are having storage for everyday items. The old saying of everything has its own space, or everything's in its place. Shoes, coats, bins for toys, silverware. I mean, most things should have a place that they belong, and it should be fairly clear where they go. If possible, a personal space for each person in the house. And that could just be a special pillow in a corner that's just for that one person, or a coat hook in a box for like their own special things in their coat. um, Management of essential information, especially for you and as an adult, like a place that you keep your mail, your bills, your receipts, appointments. Um, I was going to say one tool that I think families have reported to me that they've found really helpful is if you have a lot of different people or professionals that you are working with, keeping a business card folder. I just ordered one on Amazon. It was like $7. So they're not horribly expensive, but it's a way that every time you go somewhere, you have a different appointment, you can just stick that business card in there, and then you'll have their name, their phone number, their email, their fax number. And then when other professionals ask, who do you work with on this, then you can have that information right in front of you. So just another way to manage some essential information. Are things accessible? If you want someone to help with an activity, say you want your child to help with sorting socks, then you probably need to have them at a level where they can reach them and get into the laundry basket, for example. Or if you want them to hang up their own coats when they get home from school, you need to have a hook that's down low enough. And I just smile because it's funny how many times we expect things for kids and then we were like, oh, I guess things aren't really set up too well to support that. So sometimes it's just making sure the space supports what we want the kiddos to do. Furnishings arranged to meet your goals, safety issues, of course, addressed, and try to think about the space in your home as a way to minimize distractions during activities that require focus. Like some babies don't do very well when there's distractions when they're trying to nurse or having one kiddo play blocks while another one's trying to do homework. So thinking about those kinds of things. Time. Look at your work week and your school week and consider how those things are already set, and kind of begin to develop some routines around those bigger pieces of your schedule. But some next great places to start in looking at routines is meal times, nap and bedtimes, bath time, your family meeting time if you decide to do that once a week or once a month, playtime, and book sharing time, and time for community outings like church and spending time with extended family, shopping. So maybe as we're talking about all of the elements that go into deciding how to make up your routine, you can kind of see how children really can learn about your family's values and culture by how your days go and what kinds of activities you do and what roles people play during those. There's even more benefits. And we talked about how children learn expectations about routines, but they begin to generalize this information as they get older into other settings. And it's always so incredibly heartwarming when your child spends time with someone else or they go to school and other adults just notice the work that you've done and just things like, wow, every time she's done playing with the blocks, she's a great model for someone else. It's like, oh, we need to clean up. And she starts singing the cleanup song. Or she uses her manners when she asks for things. Or she seems to know, like when someone says it's time to go outside, that, hey, I'm responsible for getting my own coat. So it's really fun to listen to how they use the skills that you've taught them at home in other environments. Children follow the guidance of their parents when you have routines. It's like, okay, everybody, time for bath. And they start to really listen and respect what you say and know that what you say is what's going to happen. And that really helps as kids become older and you have more, they might have more freedom, but the choices that they make or the rules that they follow have greater consequences if they don't. It won't just be that they get to bed late and they might be cranky the next day. It could have much more serious consequences if you say you need to be home by, 9 o'clock and they don't come home until much later. So really setting the standards early for your level of expectation of them to follow your rules is very vital to later years being more fun and less stressful. Um, Having routines is really a very positive way to parent. It gives you so many opportunities to talk about how we do things. Oh, we don't throw the dishes when we put them in the sink. We have to set them in careful, things like that. And when there are some routines and some expectations, it really prevents an incredible amount of behavioral challenges. So just real quick, I know we've spent a lot of time on this, but I hope you've gotten some little nuggets of information that are helpful. Here's some strategies that you can use right away. So start your family meeting time when you decide, if you decide that you want to incorporate, the family meeting, start it off with a fun agenda or a neutral agenda. Just say, hey guys, let's get together once a week and talk about what we want to eat for supper the next week. And we'll do that together as a family. And then eventually it'll be a neutral place that everyone can come together and be able to talk about maybe heavier issues or more challenging issues along the way. If you're wanting to try to add something, start once a week. Don't try to completely overhaul your day. I mean, I have tried that before. And even as an adult on your own, if you weren't trying to get kids to comply with your changes, is hard, let alone trying to convince kids, hey, I used to leave you up till 10, but now we're going to go to bed at 8 regardless. And it's just things have to happen a little bit more gradually. So start where you're at and start from there to build. Instead of saying, okay, everyone's going to bed at 8, it's like if they used to go to bed at 10, let's try 9:45, then try 9:30 the next day, and then 9:15, and just work your way back. Uh, Start with areas you've had success with. One place I would really encourage you to think about starting with routines is your morning routine, and even your evening one too. But the morning one is a great way to start your morning. And I really would encourage you to come up with your own family's routine. Don't feel so much pressure about what people are doing on Instagram or on your favorite parenting blog. If in the morning you guys like to sleep in 15 minutes longer maybe than someone else, and you eat your granola bar and your applesauce and milk on the way to school, and you listen to music and sing songs on the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean you're a less capable parent than the parent who has their child sit at the table and has bacon and eggs before they hit the road. So it's just your own preferences and in your own style, and what you have yourself to kind of tackle. Write down your routine and your schedule so that everyone can kind of see it, not to become rigid, but just to let everyone know, especially like your husband or wife or your partner, like this is kind of the goal for the day. And be positive with yourself, be gentle with yourself as you try new things, and don't be overly critical of what you're trying to do. At least you're trying to work on it. Include some self-care time for your, even if it's just little snippets. It's important for you to do to take care of yourself, but it's also great to model to your children the importance of this. Share with family when there's going to be changes, and what a great opportunity to model to children how you handle changes. Instead of yelling or being mad or throwing a book like a toddler might do, you can just say, oh, I'm so disappointed. We were going to go to grandma's, but grandma doesn't feel good. So we're not going to be able to go, and I'm sad, but I think we'll find something else fun that we can do. Maybe we can write grandma a get well card. So it really teaches them a lot on how to handle changes. Another strategy I heard from somewhere else, and I don't remember where, or I would credit them for this, is consider green, yellow, and red light days. Be real with yourself and your family. If everyone wakes up Sunday morning and we're all sick to our tummies and stomachs and have a stomach bug going around, it's probably not going to be your usual green light, everything's going great kind of a day. It's probably going to be a day where you kind of sit around, you just kind of play it by ear. You'll probably have fussy and whiny kids. You'll have to take a nap when they do to try to get through it. And then there are those yellow light days where it's like it started off great, but then something came up and you have to change things. So it's good to show kids how to be flexible as things come up too, and not to push through no matter what, just so that you can cross something off of a list. So I hope there were a few little bits and pieces in there that you found helpful. I hope I communicated to you just how incredibly important routines are and what structure they give to a child's life and to your life as an adult. I also wanted to say too that keep in mind that routines change as as the years go by. Your routines when you have little infants or toddlers running around will look much different than when you have school age kids and the school activities. And it'll look different when you have high school kids, which seems a long ways away, but it will be here before you know it. So just keep that in mind and know that routines can always be changed, and the family meeting is a great place to talk about those. So I hope you guys are doing well, and thank you so much for listening to this presentation. If you have questions or more ideas, please feel free to email me. And you guys take care, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Thanks.